suave. Suena el bongo. Hazme un tumbao que el ritmo lo pongo yo.
Pops and the Rican.
Look at this dude. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
Pops and the Rican.
All right, everybody. I am Steve from the Pops and the Rican Show. This is the Pops and the Rican Show without Pops. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to fill in. Yeah, I'm gonna fill in for Dennis too. I'm gonna say, this is what he does. He goes, "Hey, everybody, welcome to Pops and the Rican Show. Evidently, I'm Pops, and I'm the Rican. So welcome to the show." And we got a special guest here. We got our buddy Kyle Buck here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Sure, my pleasure, man. It's great to have you. We're excited about what's going on here in Indy, man. A lot of great comedy. The comedy scene is just awesome. And so we wanted to just jump into this. Usually with Pops and the Rican, we like to talk about just how the comics that have performed here in the club, your thoughts on comedy. So we like to start off by saying, how did you get into the comedy scene?
I got into the comedy scene by a bit of a transition. I was a musician prior.
Okay.
I played in a acoustic string band for like 6.5 years.
So I'm assuming guitar, lead guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Guitar, a little banjo here and there.
All right, cool.
Until we found someone who played better than I did. And,
Do you still pluck? Do you still?
Oh yeah. I still play with friends back home. We do shows every now and then.
Dope.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
man. Yeah, I have a lot of fun. I enjoy being on stage. I enjoy creative expression. And so there's a little bit of a shift in my passion for playing music semi-professionally to wanting to try comedy. So during my time with the band, there were times, especially with an acoustic string band, there are moments where you kind of need to pause for a minute or two and retune the acoustic instruments. And so during those times, I just really enjoyed bantering with the audience and telling jokes, telling stories, kind of ragging on the other band members. And I just really enjoyed, and I had always enjoyed comedy. It's been something that's just been always there and always a joy of mine. And so that was kind of, I got these little snippets into what stand-up comedy could be like, but it just happened to have this, band shell around it. And so when I kind of decided to make a transition in late 2017, I started doing open mics a little bit before that, and actually a few months before that, I actually started the open mic at Kettle Top Brewhouse in Anderson, because I was wanting to do more stand-up but didn't have the time and availability to get to Indy. And so I was like, well, no one else around here is doing a mic. I have the time now, and so let's do this
opportunity.
thing. And it was actually putting on shows and performing in my own open mics and seeing what was happening in Indy that just kind of snowballed into what it is now.
Dope.
So
how long did it take you to go from, just writing jokes to actually finding your voice and saying, okay, I'm going to jump into comedy, this is exactly what I want to do?
Yeah.
Or did you just go with it?
I just kind of went with the flow, to be completely honest with you. It's one of those things where, I wrote songs like I would be writing jokes now, you know what I mean? That's just where my focus was. And so now having to recalibrate, the songwriting mind into a joke writing mind, and then also the practice is completely different as well. We can get together with a band twice a week in a living room and get it to the point to where it's ready on stage, and comedy is absolute opposite. You have to perform in front of an audience to practice.
To test it.
And so to be able to make that transition is one that, is extremely challenging, and anyone who does comedy can tell you that it is, like a grind if you're trying to get out to mics as much as you can. It really is. And so, making that transition certainly has had its challenges and still has its challenges, but, being able to get in where I can and just go with the flow and just trust myself, you know, is
yeah.
really where that came from. So.
That's really cool. I just find it. I like it. I like finding out the interesting backside of what, you know, everybody's story, because everybody's story is just so much different. But yet the underlining theme of it all is the fact that you fell in love with laughs.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
And so that is what kind of gets you. Last night you said a really interesting quote about I think it was Gary Shandling.
Gary Shandling has a quote. I can't remember. I either heard another comic recite the quote or heard him say it, but he said one of the greatest and worst experiences of my life was the first time I got on stage. I got laughs, you know,
right,
and
exactly.
it was
And he was
because
hooked with that.
he was hooked.
That
Yeah,
seems like it's
absolutely.
always been like from like being in the living room with your family and friends.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? And then you know, in high school. And then you might get a moment where you're brave enough to get up on stage and try something, and then it's like, oh, wow, that worked.
Sure.
and I like that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when where are you from?
I was born in Colorado, raised in Anderson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
How long did you stay in Colorado?
I was very, very young.
Okay.
I was probably almost a year when we came back, but it's just one of those places that, you know, that there were definitely some roots laid there that I just can't ignore, but at the same time I'm completely 100%, you know, Indiana raised.
Okay.
So,
Right, yeah, same
exactly.
here. I was born in Chicago,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
now I'm here in Indiana. But it's all good
Absolutely.
either way.
For
it's all
sure,
good.
man.
Okay,
excited
so
about it.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so well, what did you think about the club and your performance? How did you feel as far as the energy and everything?
Yeah, no, the energy was great.
Yeah.
This is actually the first time I've ever done a completely clean booking, and so that I was excited for that challenge, and I knew I could make it happen. But it was one of those things where, I mean, I didn't know if I was going to do well. I knew I could stay clean, but whether I was able to find my voice within that was going to be my challenge, and I was pretty pleased with the results.
I'm telling
the room
you,
popped pretty well.
Man, I'm telling you,
was,
it was beautiful
it was
to
a good
see.
time.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see how, and this is something that Dennis and I are always going to be preaching and teaching and you know, sharing with everybody else. You can do both.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
You can definitely do both. It's
For
pretty
sure.
obvious that you can, because you have a lot of mainstream comedians out there that are doing clean,
absolutely.
that are fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible. It's just we wanted to create an environment for you guys to test it.
Yeah, for sure.
Give it a shot. You know what I mean?
And when I heard about the concept for the first time and you guys wanting to focus on that, I was excited about it for that very reason, because I think it is a very unique challenge for not just writers but for performers.
Right.
And it's one of those things where you know, it's that the reward is the challenge itself. You know what I mean? And you know, I don't know. I just think it's cool, and I think it's a unique opportunity to grow in different ways.
Right. And it's interesting. What we want to do is get everybody in different, like I said, different backgrounds, just to see how they function, how they work. And so you got clean comedians, and you got comedians that want it, that can do clean. And I just like to see how the end result is, because when they're done and they get off stage, they're just like, oh, I didn't even know that was going to stick, or I didn't know that was going to work, or wow, this really does give me an opportunity to be a little more creative on this side, or even, oh, I got this idea, and it just starts opening up a whole new thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what we love to see. We love to see how it's like, okay, we're not trying to stifle you and your creativity on whatever you want to do, or your voice. We're just saying there's another option.
Yeah.
And this gives you the opportunity to get up on stage and a little bit more experience on
sure.
another arm of comedy. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think that in a way, you know, cursing is almost like just it's like spices for your letters. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
like it's one of those things where like it's purely like, you know, emphasizing a word that could be said differently. And sure, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I personally don't judge anyone who does curse, but you know what I mean? That there are people who don't like it, and I think that you can find creative and useful ways to make your product better,
right?
by being more tactful with your words.
I'm just
so
saying.
I think it's really cool.
Right. It's like we're not trying to, again, we're not, yeah, you're right. We're not trying to stifle or stop anybody from being creative. Or if you want to say whatever you want to say, that's fine. And it's not like we hate it. We're not saying we hate it either. It's just, I love to see the creativity, because if you think about all the main characters, like other comedians that are out there that are doing it successfully, you're looking at the creativity of their words, right? And you're looking at their craft, and you're looking, okay, wow, they really were able to create a different angle.
Yeah.
But then still, could it be effective if they were to add those and inject those?
Sure. Yeah.
But at the same time, you see that it opened
Your market.
come on, man. So it's like you have a longer reach and stretch. Now and we emphasize this on those who are serious about the game.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you got those that are just like, man, forget that. I'm only going to do this, and this is about as raw as it's going to be. Hey, that's all you. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we were looking for giving everybody an opportunity, as far as those who are serious about the game, to get in it, and you'll have so much more opportunities out there to go out and get.
Yeah.
So, really, it's just really cool to see the different sides, because we've had Christian comedians, we've had comedians that are clean, we've had comedians that just do they're just like, I don't go that route because it's just not me. So it's cool to see the different levels and say, hey guys, we can all do this and live in harmony if we work together for the betterment of comedy.
Yeah. And strictly from a business point of view, it opens your ability to book way more shows.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You're restricting your income if you're not able to be flexible. And so, I think that opening that vein up for people to do want to take that route is very important, and I think it's awesome what you guys are doing.
Great, awesome.
Cool.
And I'm glad that we're able to provide this opportunity for
Absolutely.
everybody. Okay, so do you have any family members that are in comedy as well, or is it just you?
No, just me. Yeah, no.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got funny family members, but they've never taken the route of comedy.
Yeah, well, I don't have any blood family members, but some of the closest members of my family, I think is what we call ourselves, are some very funny comedians themselves and comedically minded, and that's super cool. And they've been supporting what we're doing in Anderson for a long time, and we're some of the first ones to come in and really use the mic and some super creative writers and stuff like that. And it's really cool to have those collaborative minds around you, even outside of the quote unquote comedy scene.
Right.
But to have those folks at home that are still very comedically minded, and when we get together, it's just a riff fest.
Dope.
That's what it is. It's
That's
just a
dope.
riff fest.
That's dope. I like that. I like that because it's like, well, when I first got into the scene here in Indiana, there's a lot of great guys. There's a lot of great comedians, I should say.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
That,
Indy's
that
hilarious.
they're so ready to not only get on the mic and go, but to help.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed, there's a lot of great people out there that are like ready to say, "Hey, try this," or "Hey, why don't you think about writing this?" or come and hang out with us and we'll go over your set. And that, I'm saying, it keeps it alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great, and I'm hoping that we can keep that rolling.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, where at in Anderson? Are you? Is it Anderson? But where? Kettle Top, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. At the Kettle Top right downtown on Meridian.
Nice.
How
long have you guys been rocking there?
I started the open mic in May of 2017, and we've been doing showcases, paid ticketed shows. It's actually really cool. We turn it into essentially the Kettle Top Comedy Club. They take all the high tables, put them in the back, the low tables, put them in the front, and we have a nice dim lit room, and it's kind of all like right there together, and so you get a really kind of small club vibe from it. But you can fit 80 people on a sold out show.
Awesome.
And we've been doing those regularly since January 2018, and so we're having a lot of fun with it.
Dope. Keep it rolling.
Absolutely.
Keep it rolling. All right, so then we usually go through, when we talk to certain comics, because we talk about some of the viewers that watch Pops and Rican are younger comedians that are in the game trying to get as much education as possible. So I wanted to ask you, what is your process in writing? Are you one to just, and this is typically it's kind of typical for comedians is because the main theme is when you get a thought, write it down. You know what I'm saying? When you get a thought, write it down. But I just want to know, what is your process in writing and getting material for comedy?
So a good chunk of my material, honestly, are stories that I've just been telling for years.
Okay, so your style, if I could, is kind of leans on a storytelling.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Okay, sweet.
It definitely does, because I feel like I'm able to be more creative in that process. You know what I mean? Like, I've definitely written one-liners or kind of thought of a one-liner and written it down and tried it on stage, and some of them have worked decently, but I don't think I've been able to put as much of my own voice in those as I've been able to put into a story. And the best ones obviously are true ones. And so I try to work on emphasizing just storytelling and being truthful and honest in delivery. But as far as writing goes, I'm one of those people that, and just have always done this, that I try to turn everything into a joke. Like if I see, a situation that's interesting to me, I try to find a way to laugh at it. And
that's good.
So I try to decipher that into what is worth being written down.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I've seen I've watched Jerry Seinfeld one time in an interview. He says what would happen to him is, since he's so observational, right? What happened is, even if it's not funny, for some reason he'll look at a situation and go, "There's something funny in that."
Yeah.
Right? And even if it's not something that's just out of control, he's just saying something in this little situation.
Yeah.
I can go in there and just dig until I find that funny.
Yeah.
So I'm the same way too as far as storytelling. I love to be able to just create an environment and just go through the stories and then build characters in between.
Sure.
So when you're writing and you see, okay, let's say a scenario comes up and you're at Walmart or something, which is always, but if you're there, do you just say, do you inject yourself sometimes into the story, or do you just bring up the scenario of what happened in that story?
Like as far as like observational?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are definitely times where I've just seen some crazy things, but I find myself, and this is something that maybe other comics do as well, or even just people who want to be entertained by general life, is they'll see an odd situation and then go out of their way to interact to have the story. And there have been a couple times where I've done that. Like, I've got a story about a guy I met at a bar who just started saying some off the wall things, but I was like, I need to keep this guy going because he could dump some gold here.
Right.
And and he did not disappoint.
Right.
And so, you know what I mean? Like, I've been taking that approach to every day-to-day things. But also, I think it's really important as important as it is to write, it's equally as important to experience, because you don't have anything to write about if you don't experience anything.
Exactly.
And so
that's good.
I think it's definitely something that needs to be focused on, but it can't be the entire focus, because then you're limiting your bank to draw from in your writing process.
Right.
So,
okay. Good. Yeah. I mean, because if you think about it, if you're sitting behind a computer and you're just staring at a screen trying to write, or just a pad of paper, get up, get out, go and experience something. Go somewhere and just get something out of it, because 9 times out of 10, actually, majority of the time that you're out there, you're definitely going to pull something, or something's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if it's almost like,
or you can find something.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if something doesn't jump out to you, look for it yourself. Go somewhere you don't normally go to. Go to a restaurant you don't normally go to, or go bowling if you never go bowling. Go, see a band you've never heard of, or you know what I mean. Just do something new.
Completely different.
Absolutely.
And new. Yeah,
exactly. I think that adds value to the writing process as much as physically writing itself.
Right. Right, because you can literally think about what happened and just create this.
And write about it. Absolutely.
Right.
So I think experience is, definitely a huge part of the writing process.
Awesome. Do you write everything down, or are you computer
I'm a
savvy?
Like usually my phone's the fastest thing at my hand, but I usually am premise on the phone, and then I'll kind of take a pen to it because there's something about the motion of pen to paper that helps me kind of organize my thought.
Yeah.
I have to stay at the pace of the pen. You know what I mean?
We were talking about that last week, and Dennis gave us a very interesting college word. I forgot what it is.
Oh.
It's basically about it. I was talking about how for me when I would start to write, it does slow me down. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm typing away, because I'm used to just going to type away my thoughts and it's all good. It's like, all right, cool. But there's not really I can't really slow down, right? My thought process.
There's no reflection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're just going in, blah, 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 which is good because with me, my process is that I'll go back and I'll read it and then try to, write it out at the same time so that I'm saying it out loud and I'm writing it, and it just seems like my brain just works better if I could just, put my thoughts pen to paper.
Yeah.
And it slows me down to think through. Not just, did I just spell that right? But
And another thing about typing versus writing is a lot of us can type with our eyes closed. We know where the keys are.
Point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it'd be super hard for us to write with our eyes closed. We wouldn't know what, we would open our eyes and maybe not recognize what we see. But like, there's something about writing it and seeing it and the act of writing it that I think kind of, has a different spin than maybe typing would. Now, that's not the same for everybody. I think everyone kind of has a medium that works best for them.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I'm definitely premise on the phone, voice recorder if I'm driving, but either just a jot on a note or a,
Now, do you go in? Is it easier for you to just be completely by yourself, where there's nothing distracting you, or are you wanting to go to the library, or are you wanting to? Is it late night writing or early morning writing?
Does
it matter? I mean,
no. I don't think so. I think inspiration's random. I think it's one of those things that just pops up. I mean, you can manufacture writing. I mean, you can, and a lot of comics, that's part of their process, and a lot of very successful comics, preach that sort of process, and that's fine. And you know what I mean. It works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for myself, it's one of those things where I don't like to take too much time to sit down and force myself to do it, because then it feels just that forced. Exactly.
You can tell. Right, you're right, because
and that's just my process. That's the same approach I took to homework. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I were to sit down and just start typing about something that I was interested in for no reason with no assignment, I could do 6 or 7 pages in a night. But if I'm forced to do this story about something I'm uninterested in, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Then it,
there's no connection, real connection.
Yeah.
And I think,
that's just
for me personally, watching other comics and then myself when I go up stage, that the audience can tell if you're disconnected from the story or not. Yeah. And they'll just like, this is bull. What you're saying is bull. I don't believe you. And they can tell whether you're being real to the joke or not.
Yeah.
And there is a sense of connection and experience if you are on there just bearing your soul and saying, this story, I'm going to tell you guys what happened.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, there was a lady over here and it wasn't. There's not real connection.
Yeah. Exactly. It's and that's another reason why when I do observational approaches or when I have an observational premise, I often will incorporate my reaction to that premise as a way to add that relatability. And I think that another thing for young comics is the audience is interested in what your perspective is.
Right.
On your perspective on an observation is going to be more interesting to the audience than the observation itself. You could say, I saw an old person fall last week. You know what I mean? Luckily they were okay, but it was hilarious.
Right.
And it was, people would be like, what do you mean? But then if you were to go into what your thoughts were on it and you're able to make it funny, some people's perspectives on observations are completely off and don't need to be on the stage.
Right.
But I think it's one of those things you have to kind of dictate and police yourself, and that's where you're either going to make or break your story is the how you give off your perspective.
Okay, good. Now you said earlier that when you were with your band, you were playing, you liked the banter.
Yeah.
Right? So was it easy for you to then take that skill and be able to riff with the audience and engage with the audience? Because a lot of comics aren't that comfortable with being able to interact, and there's some gems that come out of that. You can really make a show great if you can interact with the crowd. But what was it easy? Is it easy for you, or are you still in that transition of trying to involve and call people out?
Well, see, here's another difference between the two mediums of music and comedy is it was far easier to riff with a music audience than it is to riff with a comedy audience for me, and I've kind of taken that approach. I really haven't done much crowd work on stand-up, and not that I would ever be opposed to it. I just don't know that I am ready to cross that bridge just yet. However, with a musical audience, if you say something dumb, you can just cover it up with a chord.
I was gonna say, okay, right. You can cover it up, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's not just silence.
If you're right, and if you're really good at what you're doing, you kind of win them over.
Yeah, exactly.
Already,
and also, comedy crowds and music crowds are generally different anyway. Musical crowds are more active, they're more talkative, especially during dead time, and then they pay attention when the music starts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas a comedy audience, and you're trying to engage with someone, that can either open a can of worms,
right,
or it can just not go the way you want it to. So it's a little bit more freedom just based on the kind of function of the crowd. So.
Right, and I guess you have to be really comfortable too. You got to get to a place where you're kind of comfortable with engaging with them. So I've seen comedians who have attempted. And it's like, ooh, they're just out of their. You can tell they're out of their element. Yeah. And then other ones, just their personality.
Yeah,
they're like, what's going on? Everybody's safe,
Yeah.
It's like, okay, they bring them in. They could just, hit them up a little bit, but then
absolutely.
Oh, we're cool. So it's really there is a science to it, but at the same time, there has to be some sort of personality, to it, or it's just you.
Yeah. There has to be comfortability there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that way you bring them in. That's really cool. That's really cool. So then, okay, so since we talked about how you write and how you got into the game of comedy, now I want to ask you, how long have you been in the game for comedy? How long have you been doing comedy?
I did my first official open mic in the Indianapolis scene in late 2016. I think October 2016.
Cool.
And then I turned around and started the Kettle Top mic in May of 2017.
Okay.
And it was late 2017 where I had disbanded from the band and was focusing on comedy more focused.
Okay.
So I guess you could say officially it would be 3 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you've been in the game for a minute, for 3 years. You're grinding. That's good. Are you thinking about adding music to your set? You got some skills.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think I could compete with John.
Okay.
I think
John Chester.
John Chester. He's our awesome headliner this weekend. He's just a blast. And to have a crowd, start singing your lyrics in the middle of your song, like
that's right.
Yeah, dude,
it was great.
Yeah.
It was great to see that. The interaction was great. He's got this great new one that he did, the Oregon Trail.
Yes, that's fantastic.
Such a great one because it's interactive. Like in the middle of his song, he stops and But anyways, okay. So even if it doesn't matter, do you think that you could incorporate?
Maybe,
because I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of adding a little bit of something like that in the middle of like transitions and stuff like that of a show.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, even though you have that gift, you don't want to let it go to waste.
Well, sure, and I've certainly thought about it, and I've toyed with some things.
Yeah.
I also play the banjo, and I thought that might be an interesting route to take, but then I'm like, well, Steve Martin's the banjo comic, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and also, that would kind of feel odd. But also at the same time, I think it would be funny to take a different approach to it, like to wear it but never play it. You know what I mean? Or something like that.
Right.
And I think a comedian may have already done that, but I think it'd be cool to incorporate that. But I don't know. I haven't really killed the idea, but I haven't really explored it too awful much.
I mean, because if you think about your set, right, and you're growing your set, it's just entertainment.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? So even if you took your favorite song in between each, chunk of a set, you could have something where you can put a little bit more time into your set. It's just a thought, because you don't want to.
Yeah, no, I mean that's absolutely true.
You know what I mean? So just a thought, but I just like to see different. Just different sides of comics. Yes, I love just straight up stand-up comedy. Yes, I love it. But to see that there's different gifts that everybody has, it's cool
absolutely.
to see. You could just try to implement it into your
and honestly, I've kind of thought and talked about this over with some of my friends back home that I still play music with and are hilarious people. That if we did musical comedy, we would want to go straight parody.
Right.
And we were thinking, like a old school, country band that just went by some bizarre name and wrote these crazy songs about, but
the thing is you can't go wrong.
I think that would be where I would have the most fun. With musical comedy. And they both certainly meld together so well, as, John's able to do.
Yeah.
But I think I would get the most enjoyment just going straight parody, going in a character. I'd be in a character, I'd play as that character, I'd sing as that character, and I think that would probably be the most fun for me.
I think that's something maybe you can think about.
Absolutely. That'd be super cool. Maybe do comedy.
I'm just saying.
Or how cool would it
show.
be if all three members of the band were comedians? We all did 10 minutes before the show, and then the band closed out the show. That'd be cool.
That's what I'm saying. There's the show.
There's the tour.
Come on, man. So I was just saying, you throw that in there. It's just an idea. You definitely have a show. It's entertaining.
And also another thing is India's full of talented musician comedians too. Absolutely.
There's no doubt that I don't think that would be that bad at all.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So now since you've been in the game and you've got a little bit of experience, you're running the mic, what would you... We always want to get advice, right? So what's one piece of advice that you thought was just, okay, I'm going to hold on to this bad boy, either from a friend or another comic or whoever? It's just a really solid piece of advice that you would give to someone else that's in the game as well.
I think one of the best pieces of advice that was given to me when entering the scene was, it wasn't really about the art of comedy or performing. It was more about benefiting the scene, and the best piece of advice that I was given was be present. Support your scene, even if it's just going to mics, even if you don't feel like going up, go to the mic, or go to shows, lend your support, share posts, like posts. It's literally some of the easiest stuff to do.
Come on, that's true.
But
man.
it is one of those things that grows, grows scenes and grows camaraderie and builds passion to keep it going. You know what I mean? There's it just seems like one of the easiest things in the world that kind of disappoints me about some comics and mostly they're newer trying to get into it, but it's like this one thing, be present when you can.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you have the ability, go support something in your scene, even if it's just sharing a post and saying, hey, go see my friends on this show tonight. You know what I mean?
It's so easy. That's such a great subject, because, or even an advice too, because we're all in the game, and we're all trying to get somewhere. We're all trying to make things happen.
Yeah.
And it's so much better if we could support one another the best that we can.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
If I'm all the way over here, that doesn't mean I can't post on Facebook and say, hey, go check this guy out.
Yeah.
Or go here. This is a great spot for comedy. If you're doing a show, in essence, if you're performing, right, at a spot, why wouldn't you post and promote that you're
Yeah.
going to be at this place.
Sure, absolutely.
So it's like, it's tough to, it's so interesting to see how, I don't want to say that sometimes comedians can be a little privileged, you know, or they say, you know, I'm
Well,
grinding in the game, so you
yeah.
know, you're the promoter, you do your thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I get that, I understand
Well,
that, but
yeah.
how much
Yeah,
more?
I think it's absolutely, when it's so easy, and also, so I understand, you know, the biggest comics in the world and a lot of the national comics, like national touring comics, the clubs that they're going to and the venues that they're going to, it's easy for them to promote shows.
Right.
But on the level that's local, I mean, from a booker and producer point of view, and that's the other kind of thing about this is you know, as a lot of comics do, and I love the fact that there are so many comedians that also produce things. I think that's awesome about indie. I think there are a lot of different people putting on shows. Shout out to Let's Comedy. Shout out to Rocket Ship.
Right.
Shout out to Red Flag.
And Kokomo too as well.
Hairbrain.
Kokomo has something.
Yeah, Kokomo stuff. Shout out to everyone producing shows. It's fantastic.
Yep.
But personally, from what we're doing up in Anderson, you know, I actively book and want comics that I know are going to push themselves. And, you know, it benefits both sides. We grow as a venue, which allows us to earn more money, which again allows us to pay people more.
Right.
And it's one of those things where, you know, we're not asking you to put money on a Facebook ad. We're not asking you, you know, just share it, or you know, if you you know, even take the time to send us a video or something that we can put on our page.
Right.
You know what I mean? We will gladly share that. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it just seems so easy and so simple that it just blows my mind that not enough, you know, especially new comics, you know, don't really mention the scene.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get as much exposure because it's just as important, not just to go on stage and find mics, but it's just as important to network.
Yeah.
And because, like we always say here, and Dennis always says too, is like your network is your net worth. You'll get more opportunity if you network together. That's in business. That's in anything.
Yeah.
How else will you be able to get the opportunities if you don't reach out, if you don't connect, if you don't plug in and say, hey, I'm over here at this place.
Absolutely.
You need to meet me there. So it's, you can really tell who is serious about the game versus I'm just...
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that there are a lot of great comedians that are very serious about their craft and are very great performers that just maybe don't...
They're not as savvy, or they just don't feel like they...
It just may even be... it's not exactly that they have malintent. It's really just that it either gets missed, or a lot of us are very busy spinning a lot of plates.
That's true.
And I know that's one thing that I actively try to avoid, is letting that sort of stuff, you know, fall by the wayside. But you know, for some people, it just slips by, and it's not that they're going out of their way to let it slip by, but you know.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guilty of that too as well.
But at the same time, you can tell if you're active on both sides of it, on the, you know, if you're going to things and you're, you know, not just talking about them online, then you also see who those folks are, and you know, the people really putting in work. They do rise above the rest, and their performance shows it, their reputation shows it, and the outcome shows it. Shout out to Ryan Niemiller, perfect example.
Right, exactly.
You know,
and he was at your show. Didn't he go to the
he played Kettle Top back in August.
I like the fact that, you know, no matter what, you know what I mean, the game is great, and he's ready to.
He drove in from Philly and showed up a little bit before the first showtime, and that was absolutely fine. But he drove from Philly and made it there in time to go on and go up, and that meant a lot to us. You know what I mean? That he's still putting in that work, even for, you know, a little old, you know, Brewhouse and Anderson. So that, you know, that sort of thing means a lot. And so you know, there are other comics in the scene that I think will see a lot of career growth, and they promote their scene. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they promote their city, and they represent where they're from in a positive way, and I love to see that, and I think everyone's capable of that. You know.
I just liked it. I like the fact that, you know, to meet people that are not just crabs in a barrel, just trying to keep you from, you know, pursuing or getting, you know, any kind of notoriety or even success.
Sure.
It's like, come on, guys, we're in this together, and let's just celebrate rather than pull down. So I'm just glad. I'm so grateful to have you here at the club.
Dude,
But
I'm grateful to be here,
just
man.
being able to be connected, man. It's just the networking has been great, and you've always been great to promote, and you've always been great to.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And you know, you guys do a fantastic job. This place has such a cool feel, and it has you know, the brick on the walls and the dark color of the main room, and just the way the stage is laid out, and the way the room feels is fun, and it's active, and it's energetic, and it's comfortable, and it just feels fantastic. It's great performing. It sounds great. And yeah, it's a blast. I can't wait for the show tonight.
Oh man, I appreciate it big time, big time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what else are you involved in? Go ahead and give a shout out to what you do.
Well,
how can they get a hold of you and connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Check out Kettle Top Brewhouse in Anderson. Kettle Top Comedy presents. Our next show coming up is October 12th, Kettle Top Comedy All-Stars. We're featuring some of our favorite local folks from around the Midwest that have come to our stage and just rocked it. So we're going to have Dan Alton closing out that show. We're going to have David Brooks, Austin Fry, and Mo Mitchell on that one, plus a slew of regular micers and other special guests that will do some smaller sets, and we're going to keep those a surprise. Hosted by Griffin Shira.
Great. Yeah, he's great too.
Yeah, he's a blast, man. We always have a lot of fun. And we're going to do 2 shows, an 8 o'clock and a 10 o'clock. So that way you can kind of pick what sort of experience you want. The 8 o'clock show is a little bit more timid. We don't necessarily ask for clean, but the 8 o'clock show is usually more timid, but the 10 o'clock show is always a party. It's always a party, man. And so those tickets are on sale now at ontaptickets.com.
Okay.
Search for Kettle Top Brewhouse, or just visit the Facebook page. Yeah, that's
you heard it from Kyle Buck here, you guys. Pops and Rican, we appreciate you guys for following us, supporting us. You don't want to miss any shows that Kyle does. Trust me, you will not be disappointed.
Follow me at Uncle Buck's House. I forgot to say that.
Right,
on all social media at Uncle
all
Buck's
social
House.
media, Uncle Buck's House?
At Uncle Buck's House.
Uncle Buck's House. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching Pops and Rican. I'm the Rican, and evidently Pops not here, but it's all good. Pops
Miss
and
you,
Rican.
Pops.
Yeah.
Much love.
Yes. Deuces. Yeah. Thanks a lot, bro. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Great. Get better and better.
Suena el
All right,
bongo,
man.
hazme un tumbao, que el ritmo lo pongo yo.
Pops and the Reeds.
Look at this dude. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
Pops and the Reeds.